Call to order the meeting of the ASRB on Monday, July 28th at 4:30 p.m. Roll call.
Chair Lindsay,
Present.
Vice Chair Comer, Member Middleman,
Present.
and members Delgavio and Sullivan are noted absent.
Thank you. Just a reminder for anyone in the room, there is a sign-in sheet. If you could sign in, we'd appreciate it. We have a record who's attended. Any changes to the agenda tonight?
There are no changes to the agenda and there are no desk items.
Okay, thank you. This time we call for the public to, if they wish to make a comment, either in the room or online, on anything not on tonight's agenda. Now is the time to do so.
For those online, please use the raise hand feature if you'd like to make a comment. There are no raised hands.
Okay. Good. All right. I think there's one item on the consent agenda tonight. Unless any member of the board wishes to pull that for discussion, entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Chair Lindsay,
Yes.
Vice Chair Comer, Member Middleman.
Yes.
Great. Okay, let's move to the public hearing. The first item on the agenda tonight is Roberta Drive.
That was the, sorry, so there's the minutes on the consent agenda. And also to be clear that the 75 Roberta was on the consent agenda just for the landscape item.
Oh, okay.
So if that wasn't clear, if you guys,
That was not clear. Sorry, I misread the agenda. I
so-
saw it as a separate item.
so just, if the board doesn't want to pull it off the agenda, you can just approve it on consent. If you do want to pull it off the agenda, or if there's any member of the public that would like to pull it off the agenda, the item can be discussed.
Okay, sorry. I retract that motion.
Sure, yeah, I mean, we'll take that as the, approving the minutes. And then for 75 Roberta, if there's anyone from the public online, raise your hand if you'd like to speak on that item, or if anyone here in person would like to speak and pull the item off consent, or the ASRB may do so.
All right. As I was not present for the initial review, I'll defer to my fellow members if either one of them wishes to discuss the proposed of the, it was primarily the landscaping plan that was submitted, so.
Yeah, I believe we just wanted it to see it before we sent it to formal staff. Right.
Okay. So with it being submitted, does that satisfy your needs?
Nothing has further been submitted. We did re-notify we did re-notice the projects. I know the applicant has started some neighborhood outreach. And so this was specific just to the landscape plan, and the applicant did provide some wildlife passage.
Okay. Are you satisfied with the material that was submitted? Yep. All right. So let's redo the motion
Sure.
to approve the minutes and I guess, which is the continuation of Roberta Drive.
And then that would
Towards-
forward it to formal design review.
Submitting to formal, right, to staff for formal.
That's correct.
Yep. So no need to come back to ASRB for formal. Okay, that's the motion.
A second.
Chair Lindsay,
Yes,
Vice Chair Comer, Member Middleman.
Yes.
great. Thank you for clarifying that, Sage. It was not clear in the agenda that I looked at earlier.
Well,
So,
I didn't catch it either.
oh, some feedback.
Sure, it was listed under the consent items.
No, yes, looking at it, it's obvious. I don't know how we both missed it.
I think because it's unique. First time I think we're having recalled seeing that, so. Okay, then, that was quick. So moving on to the first item of the public hearing.
I apologize. Who made the motion and who seconded?
I motioned.
Okay, and you second? That's all I need. Just so for the members of the public, 75 Roberta has been completed. They just passed the item on consent. So you can contact your project planner and they'll provide, you'll get a letter the next day or two for the updates and the next steps.
Okay. So this is now item 3, first item on the public hearing, which is 125 Farm Road. And who's presenting? Sarah? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So I will be introducing the project at 125 Farm Road. The project includes the construction of a new single-family main residence with an attached garage, as well as a detached garage, and then a pool house, gym, and a detached ADU, and a swimming pool, sport court, and other site improvements. The property is approximately 4.8 acres and is in the SCP-5 zoning district. It's located kind of off Portola Road in the southern part of town, in the Hidden Valley Lake subdivision. So the property has a gradual slope down away from the road to the back of the property, where there's a town designated stream. So that's on the screen here. This is the stream back here in the back of the property. There are areas on the property that do fall within both the Alquist Priolo and San Andreas Fault Study Zones. So the applicant has done some exploratory geotechnical trenching and has provided a geotechnical report with some recommendations for building locations. So the property is currently vacant. And that load. So the new main residence is proposed here in sort of like the center of the property. The top of the page is the road, and then the stream's opposite of that. There will also be an attached garage here in this location. And then, excuse me, there will be several detached accessory structures. So the first one is this detached garage here. There's also a detached ADU, and that's here in sort of the rear center of the.
That was me.
There's also what they're calling a pool house here, as well as a gym. And here's the proposed swimming pool, and then the sport courts over here. There is an existing driveway that will be removed. It's in this location here. So that's being proposed to be removed, and a new driveway is proposed over here in this northern corner of the property. So it'll go into the property kind of following this here. It's a little hard to see, but so it'll end up at this like auto court here, and then kind of extends into the property further to this additional sort of auto court and where the detached and attached garage is. There are also vehicle gates proposed on site. So the first one is here at the beginning of the driveway onto the property. And then there's also another vehicle gate here, kind of separating this primary auto court from the sort of, I guess, secondary or garage auto court. There are also a number of fences proposed on site with various designs and heights. I do want to show that sheet. So, for instance, there's some fencing proposed kind of, I guess, on the perimeter, so sort of on the front of the property as well as on the sides. And then some other fences kind of interior to the property. The applicant does intend to remove several of the trees on site. The trees to be removed are either within the proposed development or in poor health according to the arborist report. Sorry, taking a little while to load, but here we go. So the height of the residence will be approximately 29.7 feet at its highest point. The main residence will be mostly single story with a modest second story. The design for both the main residence and all of the accessory structures are all the same style and materials. And the structures are all spread throughout the property to create like a low-lying profile and to be harmonious with the natural features of the site. And the materials will be vertical wood siding, stone veneer, vertical wood slat screens, painted metal windows and doors, and slate tile roofs. And if you had an opportunity to visit the site, you should have seen the story poles that were installed. And we do have the applicant here today as well. But that concludes my introduction to the project, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Sarah. Does any member of the board have questions of staff?
Just, do you happen to have a visual on the fences and the gate?
Yeah. So these are the vehicle gates that are proposed. So this is the one that's proposed at the front of the property. It's like a swing gate. And then this second one is the one that's more interior where the auto carts are, and it's like a sliding gate. And then some fencing. So these are some of the different proposed fencing. So we've got some deer fencing, and then this is like a wooden wire. This fence is, I think this is at the road. I don't, the applicant can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's some fencing kind of on the front of the property as well as on the sides. In the packet too, it's sheet L202 if you can't see it well enough on there.
Does the project, is the project consistent with all the objective standards that we have in the zoning code?
Yes, based on the information we have available now. With the formal design review application, we'll be able to understand a bit more about grading and things like that. But in terms of setbacks, heights, things like that, yes, they are in compliance.
Clarification on fencing. Is there a requirement in the code for a wildlife corridor?
So next question I had.
There's not a requirement. So there's the residential design guidelines, and then there are general plan policies. And it's to provide wildlife passage in wildlife corridors. So it's a very general.
Suggestion.
It's highly encouraged. We do have a lot of deer that get hit. A good example is a fence permit was issued to the owners behind us here at Town Hall some years back. And shortly thereafter, a deer was hit on the road, and the owners, they didn't recognize it, and they took it upon themselves actually after that to open up some fence areas.
Any other questions?
No,
All right, I stole your question.
you did steal my second question. But great minds think alike. No, I have no more questions.
All right, good. Yeah, I mean, it'd be better for the applicant to speak to this, but I'm just curious about the findings from the geotechnical report and how that may have impacted placement of some of the structures, but I'll let you speak to that. And if there's no more questions, then yeah, we'll move to applicant's presentation. Good segue.
Great. My name is Tim Chapeau. I'm the architect from Arcanum Architecture working on this project. And just to give you an overview back history, 27 years ago, I did my very first design of a house here in Woodside. And different people were in the planning department, of course, back then. But It was on Olive, go ahead. No, it was on, it was on Olive Hill. And I remember my first client said, oh, I want to build a 2-story house in this town, in this rural town on the peninsula. And my office in San Francisco. And I go, cool. And so I came down here and I met with the planning department, and I said, look, I have a client who wants to build a 2-story house on top of a hill here in town. They just said, oh, no. This is Woodside. You can't do that. It would be visible from, all the main roads. We can't do that. And I said, okay, back up. I go, if there was a 2-story house, what would it look like? They said, oh, well, it wouldn't be one big mass. It would be kind of the small house, big house, farmhouse compound that's been grown over time. And it would be a collection of roof forms, and the 2-story would not be overwhelming, and it wouldn't be this big roof. I go, oh, interesting. And that kind of started my whole concept of doing compound architecture back in 1998. And I fell in love with Woodside and actually moved here 10 years later after that. But what we're trying to do always in architecture is trying to break down the buildings. And that's what we consider being kind of the most sensitive, especially when you're doing these kind of large estates in town, is to make the house feel less massive. And what we're presenting today is this compound language. And it isn't a contemporary agrarian language. We're breaking the building form down so it feels like buildings, barns, et cetera, that have been established over years, over time. And this is an unusual property because it's a rare property in Woodside that's an undeveloped property in general. So it does have its own unique issues. Since it is undeveloped, there is a lot of trees, one thing. There's road access, which is limited. We have a wonderful creek going through the back, and we have the adjacency of the San Andreas Fault with fissures spiraling off of that. So when we got this property, the availability with a client, this is unusual to be in the conceptual. We've done a lot of work to get to this point. So it's not like we're coming in with a concept. We've thoroughly analyzed what this property is. To build on this property, we have to honor the setback from the creek. And the previous owner had done an exploratory trenching on the property. And what they were trying to do is investigate if there was any potential fissures coming through the property, spiring off of San Andreas Fault. And so we inherited this exploratory trench, which is shown on our site plan. And that becomes, we have to build within that. There's kind of like a set dimensions that we have to build the house into that area. And so those became the defining features of the property of how it was laid out. We then immediately started doing septic analysis of the property. We did perk testing, we got a B rating. All these kind of things have put together. We've also brought civil in, which I know it's not part of this presentation, just so you know. Our goal is to we have a balanced schematic design for the site, but we do have to have a driveway, which is requiring a lot of cut and fill, but we are balancing the property. But all of these things have been taken into place. And with that, we've come up to the removal, which we talked about, like there's 90 some trees removing. Only 18 are actually the oak trees. There's a lot of ukes. There's a lot of the oaks that we're talking about are like those ones that are just growing because nobody's taking care of the property. There's got little oaks next to big oaks. We're trying to take out the little ones so the big ones can grow. And so we carefully position the site, the building itself to be, you can see it's a very vulnerable site. We kind of pushed it towards down the hill a little bit. So it's kind of nestled a little more toward the trees. We have a driveway. We looked at keeping the current driveway location, which kind of splits the property, but it didn't really work with septic. And the driveway became much longer and required more grading. So we kind of made the decision to move it to one side. That's why it's positioned where it is, and bring it down the shortest dimension. But we've done all these kind of analysis to try to kind of get this property to kind of fit together. So just to be clear, we've been really thoughtful of how we're doing with the geotech, the civil, the septic. All that has been kind of intertwined with the design and the concept already. And we have the owner, Matt Klemchuk's here, if you had any questions, and if you have questions for me.
Good, thanks.
Just have a question on the neighborhood outreach.
Yes. Yes, Matt talked to every neighbor around us, reached out to them and offered to share the design with them. I think nobody felt like their privacy was going to be impacted, but we did reach out to everybody like in a circle around us.
Member Middleton.
No question.
Really? I'm curious about a sort of final grade for the structure that's now resulted in a fairly substantial amount of grading. going to be required on this retaining wall that spans, I'm going to guess, 85% of the width of the,
On the up, yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah. Well, we're trying to kind of create, as you can see the site, the way it's sloped, we're trying to kind of create the entrance to the driveway. The driveway actually drove a lot of the design because we were trying to we have a fire truck access, obviously, we have to have the percentage of grade. So where we end up coming in as the driveway or the first auto course where the fire truck turnaround is, that's about as low as we could possibly get in that driveway format. So then we lowered the house a little bit below that. And really what we tried to do is just try to balance the site as much as possible. So the site walls you're talking about on the uphill side, and we're really trying to do is kind of balance the meadow feeling and at the lower side just to kind of balance it and not do, excessive. We are cutting and then we're filling, taking the cut from the site, filling on the uphill side. We try to kind of just create that perfect balance. We kind of left a little bit to civil to try to figure it out. But the walls that we are proposing, the beauty of it, from the uphill side looking down, you're just not going to see them, obviously. It's not going to be a retaining wall that's going to be unattractive. But that was trying to do is just trying to get the flatness of the site to get it. Because we're getting one thing that's, a negative thing about the compound language, when you start spreading a building out on the site, it's great for breaking the massing down and not let it seem like one giant box. The negative is you have, you have to deal with slope and you try to minimize the amount of steps inside. So there's a little bit of that back and forth.
Question to staff. Is there anything in the code that governs the placement of a drive relative to, like within the setback relative to the property boundaries?
No, not specific for a driveway. There's a provision in the code about grading within 10 feet of a property line. So obviously every driveway will go within 10 feet of a front property line, but it's kind of looking at driveways alongside property lines. What the code says is there shall not be any cuts of tops and toes of slopes within 10 feet of a property line, subject to review by the town engineer. So the engineering department can look at that and can approve grading within 10 feet of a property line. In most cases, it's usually tied to a driveway when we see the town engineer approve something like that.
And just so you know, we did communicate and work, we sent the drawing to civil engineer in the town to kind of went through the driveway location, helped them because we knew we were getting close to all the levels. And because there is the idea of grading at the driveway, the slope, we have to deal with some transitions there that, so we had to get some blessing that they said they gave guidance on us how to do it.
Great. Yeah. Any questions on general aesthetics or style? Nope.
Not beyond what we did for this middle, yeah. But we can always provide that obviously as a supplement as your condition of approval.
It's required of the formal design.
Yeah. But we love text. I mean, the one thing is, all natural materials, we're using woods, metals, stones, all those kind of elements. Again, we want to patina and age over time. It's not a white house, nothing black and white. No black and white farmhouse here, so don't worry about it.
You appear to be fully embracing combed cedar.
Yeah, it's I love it. Yeah.
We're wrestling with that decision right now.
Oh, I know. Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah, no, I think it's, yeah, okay, so do you want to provide any, well, we'll move, so I don't think there are any other
Okay.
questions. Yeah, is there anyone in the
There's
public?
anyone in the public?
I see a couple
Okay.
extra members online.
For those online, please use the raise hand feature if you'd like to make a comment. I don't see any raised hands.
Someone just showed up. Okay, so with that, we'll close public comment, move to board deliberation. Would anyone like to summarize their thoughts with regards to this presentation?
It's a well thought out site plan. I think the buildings work as a compound. I mean, if I were to try and draw something that came out of the residential design guidelines, this might be an example. So, yeah, well done. And I really don't have anything I would change or, yeah.
Good. Chair Cameron.
Well, it's a beautiful design. I mean, I'm glad it's not a white farmhouse. These guys don't see, I think are a little colorblind, but it definitely blends into the landscape there. And I'm sure your neighbors will be very happy to have that house on the street. And I like the idea that it's really not a two-story house. I mean, it's just your small two-story house. I do cringe a little bit at the word compound, but there's nothing not to like about this house.
Thanks. Yeah, from my perspective, every time I see a new solution coming out of your firm, I look forward to seeing how you've expanded your definition of compound every point. So, I think it's a wonderful project. I think it's, quite elegant. Great use of materials. Love unlike my fellow member, I love the compound approach, especially for, as addressing the massing problem by simply deconstructing into multiple structures. Yeah, I think it's Sage is taking notes, and then so far everything is complementing the.
No, and I like that there's
presentation.
not these big windows where the lights just pound, as people are driving by at night. I mean, I think you really kind of underdone that aspect. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I think the only reservation I have is the number of trees that are impacted. And that was largely my gist behind placement or structure placement, because there's quite a few mature oaks that are in close proximity to the proposed structure placements. That look like unfortunately they'll have to be sacrificed as part of this. So I think the only piece of feedback there would be if there's any way to, make minor modifications to structure placement to save more of those, that would be certainly appreciated from the board. Yeah, that kind of sums it up.
So the ASRB commended the applicant for a well thought out site plan, creating a design that is consistent with the residential design guidelines, choosing colors that are well suited for the surrounding area, proposing a two-story mass that is minimal and well proportioned for the building, and also providing a design that has minimal glazing. The only, I would say, consideration, it's not a requirement, but the consideration from the ASRB that was cited is for the applicant to look at the design closer, and in any case where they have the ability to try to sive large, healthy, native trees, that those design modifications should be considered.
One other concern or question. The sport court, I mean, is it going to be a pickleball court or, because I know how close that is to the neighbors. I mean, sometimes that could be a little annoying if
Yeah,
pickleball at 7
so
a.m..
the sport court, it was, one of the good things about the property is the neighbors, that's their equestrian area, that's their rural area. So that was gonna be a good, I don't know if you talked to the owner specifically about did you or did?
The owner where the sports court is located, yeah, he said he has no problems with our plans, with our design. His request when I reached out there was to give him notice of loud noises associated with construction work, so they wouldn't disturb his animals.
The horses, yeah.
But he didn't have any problem with our design.
And I'll note that tennis courts can go into setbacks. They can be as close as 15 feet to a side property line. But all other sports courts are required to meet the setbacks, and this project does meet the 50-foot setbacks. So.
Okay.
So with that, summary story poles have been installed, and
Certainly appreciate that. That was.
yeah, it's always helpful. Yeah. And so therefore, the ASRB, with the minimal comments, may choose to forward the formal design review to staff. It would only go to planning commission if in review of those materials required some type of entitlement.
Would like to make a motion?
I motion what Sage said.
I motion to forward this to staff and to formal review.
I'll second.
Chair Lindsay,
Yes.
Vice Chair Comra,
Yes.
Member Middleman.
Yes.
Great. So we'll send out a letter in the next couple of days.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful project, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great piece of land, too.
That's good team.
It's a nice meeting. And this is, you guys go on vacation?
Okay.
So with that, we just have a director's report that was included in the packet, just outlining the different projects that have been through ASRB and Planning Commission. And, you know, it's kind of just a consistent trend. We've been noting that that for fiscal year to date, the valuation is, you know, it's $20 million more than it was last year. Part of that is due to a slight increase in number of permits, but I think you'll just kind of look at the type of permits that were issued and some of the larger projects that have been coming through as have proved. Also, sometimes it really has to do with construction materials and costs as valuations increase over the years. But continue to remain busy. This is the last meeting before August recess, so thank you all for squeezing this in before, so these applicants didn't have to wait till September. But with that, we'll see you guys in September.
It's,
I think you have some questions on the director.
Sure.
I think I've asked you this a couple times in meetings, but can we have a tracker in terms of how we're meeting our MENA numbers?
Oh, yes, yes. Okay. Let's get that on the list. At least definitely, yeah, well, that's fine. We can look at our single family and our ADU production.
Yeah, I think it would be great to see how we're progressing over time. That's
Sure.
all.
Okay.
And then, in the fall, we have some objective standards that are being developed. Are those going to come in front of us as well as planning?
Nothing has been set, so, but if we're doing objective design standards, it's likely that we would utilize the ASRB.
Good. That I will conclude the meeting at 5:03.